What's up guys, welcome back. We have some really cool new info discovered that we'll be going over in this video, and as always, if you enjoyed it, hit the like button, and if you are new to the channel, you will probably want to subscribe and turn notifications on for more content like this going forward. So, as you noticed already by the intro, the topic here is going to be about how CRYENGINE for the Switch platform has been discovered to be in development, possibly a custom version for a new game by Nintendo. But not only CRYENGINE, but also the engine offshoot from CRYENGINE called Lumberyard, which was originally part of a previous version of CRYENGINE 3 years ago, and now both engines have seen their own separate changes over the years. But with the difference with Lumberyard being free to use for developers, provided and owned by Amazon. The most notable game that moved to Lumberyard from CRYENGINE is the extremely sophisticated, crowd-funded, and many years in development Star Citizen, and of course that game is being made only for PCs right now due to how nearly infinite the goal is for the game to be as close as possible to travel in space with the actual distance measured and so forth. CRYENGINE itself is most famously known for the game Crysis, and the intro from this video was taken from the CRYENGINE 5.6 trailer that was just recently released by the CRYENGINE team, and they obviously remade that first area of Crysis 1 in this new engine, possibly teasing, which I hope, a full remake of Crysis 1, which would be amazing of course for fans. So, Nintendo actually does have a history with the CRYENGINE, specifically CRYENGINE 3 back with the Wii U. If you recall the whole unprecedented partnership with EA and Nintendo that completely turned into a disaster after rumors of Nintendo denying partnership with EA to use their Origin online and digital storefront back in 2011, the developers of Crysis 3 said that they had a full build or port of Crysis 3 running on the Wii U back in late 2012 to 2013. But, as we know, not only was EA done with Nintendo, but also the Wii U was a complete sales disaster, so even though Crysis 3 was actually running on the Wii U, EA didn't support Crytek with any funds or money to release the game on the Wii U, and thus the game ended up being cancelled. And it's a shame too, since that would have been a really awesome game on the Wii U in my opinion, especially with the use of the gamepad for those suit abilities and for the map and so forth, but it just simply wasn't going to happen. So fast forward 7 years now to 2019, and Crytek has had a lot of financial problems, even almost going out of business, but they are now publishing their own games, and they finally did release the game called Hunt Showdown on the PC, PS4, and Xbox One a few months ago, which actually was reviewed very well on Metacritic with an 81 score, with it being this very interesting mix of a online multiplayer first-person shooter and survival horror game at the same time. Now, with that being said, Crytek has never really been known for making amazing games besides that first Crysis game on PC. Crysis 3 was better than Crysis 2, but overall Crysis 1 has always been their crowning achievement 12 years ago in 2007. However, what most, if not all, developers have agreed upon over the years is that the CRYENGINE can be used very impressively in games. Crytek has some really amazing technology on display in their latest CRYENGINE 5.6, but it's been difficult for them to find many developers to use their engine, since what has happened is Unreal Engine 4 has become a near complete monopoly in conjunction with Unity, and has become the de facto engine that not only independent developers are using, but also big-time developers like Nintendo and Square Enix are using Unreal Engine 4 with games like Link's Awakening Remake, Yoshi's Crafted World, Kingdom Hearts 3, and Final Fantasy VII Remake. Unreal Engine 4 has had so much support that investment in tools for the engine have outdone the CRYENGINE and Lumberyard engine by a lot. However, there must be something Nintendo is liking about the CRYENGINE and Lumberyard, because it appears that Nintendo is developing a new multiplayer online game, and they are hiring a senior multiplayer networking software engineer with the requirements of working specifically with Lumberyard and CRYENGINE. This is really awesome news, guys, and the reason why is because remember, Lumberyard just started 3 years ago. Another thing to point out about all these engines is that even though Unreal Engine 4 has been used by Nintendo and Square Enix, there have been interviews specifically with Square Enix, for example on Kingdom Hearts 3 and Final Fantasy VII Remake, that the version of Unreal Engine 4 they are using has customized aspects to it, meaning they aren't just running a vanilla version of Unreal Engine 4 to get those games running to look like that on PS4. What they have done is stacked various things on top of it over the years to take advantage of console hardware. So in regards to how Nintendo is hiring for this new game, as we know with Nintendo, they also don't just use vanilla engines either, but they here were specifically asking for Lumberyard and CRYENGINE experience, and this is the first time I've seen them ask for this. So logically, the game they are working on right now most likely is using aspects from CRYENGINE and or Lumberyard, and Nintendo just might be using these aspects to assist them in customizing an engine they are using for this new game. So the question then comes up, what system is this going to be for? Remember that the current Switch doesn't have any games that use CRYENGINE or Lumberyard, and the minimum specs requirements for Lumberyard and CRYENGINE are beyond what the Switch hardware can do. So you see here, Lumberyard right off the bat requires a quad-core CPU at 3 GHz minimum and 8 GB of system RAM, and CRYENGINE will barely run at all on PC with 4 GB of system RAM, but also needs at least 1 GB of GDDR5, which, as we know for the Switch, GDDR5 far exceeds the memory bandwidth of the Switch by multiple times. Even 1 GB of GDDR5 can use over 160 GB per second of memory bandwidth. So we know the Switch with only 25 GB per second of memory bandwidth or so can't likely run the current version of the CRYENGINE. And Crytek even makes mention of integrated GPUs and APUs in these requirements, that 4 GB of shared memory in those integrated chips just isn't enough for it likely to work at all. The required and of course recommended specs fall right in line with a base model PlayStation 4 and above. So taking all this into consideration, as we've been covering here for over the past year, you can see where this is all heading for Nintendo. Nintendo is working with new Switch hardware that supports CRYENGINE and or Lumberyard engines, along with updated Unreal Engine 4 and Unity engines, which in turn means that Nintendo's new Switch hardware, the hardware we've been discussing, and the mobile tech which has been advancing beyond PS4 level as we've been talking about, should very likely be capable enough to get ports leading into the next generation of systems, with the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Scarlet of course being scaled down at lower resolutions and settings. And it's amazing, after looking into all this, what finding out new engine support really means for future support of ports, but also for how Nintendo is expanding their own development teams with incorporating next generation technologies that these advanced engines support. So whatever new custom engine Nintendo is working on, which incorporates libraries or subsystems from these engines like CRYENGINE here, I'm very excited to see what kinds of games they are creating and revealing in the not too distant future with it. I'm sure you'll agree. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this video. Let me know what you think about all this in the comment section. Where do you think this is heading for Nintendo? Obviously, if you've been following this channel for the past year or so, you can most likely put 2 and 2 together and see where this is heading. However, I do want to hear what you guys have to say about it, of course. So if you did enjoy this video guys, please hit the like button, subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you very soon in the next video. Have a great day.